Thank you for your purchase of Foley United's AccuMaster 652 Spin Relief Reel Grinder. This presentation will assist you in learning how to use this machine to sharpen your reels so you can minimize potential quality of cut issues. Please read the manual before operating the machine and follow all safety instructions. This machine has been designed with safety features that will make the task of spin and relief grinding not only safe, but very efficient. All operation and running of the machine must be done with the doors closed and never bypass the built-in safety features. There are 4 very simple keys in understanding how this piece of equipment works. 1. Knowing where to position the reel into the machine. 2. Understand exactly how the relief mechanism works. 3. Know how to read the gauge. And 4. Find the correct spin speed. Once you understand the mechanics of where the reel goes and how the relief works, your experience running the machine will prove to be safe, easy, and efficient. Let's review what you get with the machine. You have received 2 different diameter spin stones and 2 different diameter, more narrow relief stones. A setup flag that is used for the very first time that you set up a reel of a particular type. A digital gauge and accessory piece that is used to properly align the reel. A spin drive mechanism and coupler used to spin the reel. And lastly, a 4-point hoist system that is used to lift and position the reel into the machine. All of these pieces play a role in the use of the AccuMaster. However, before we show you how they are used, let's take a look at the main Accu-Touch touchscreen control panel. We'll first review the controls that can be manually operated on the top of the control panel before reviewing the touchscreen. There is the main power switch that provides power to the panel, a green power button that boots up the power to the control panel, a red emergency stop button, a spin speed potentiometer to control spin speed, a relief torque potentiometer that controls the amount of torque needed to index the reel blade. And finally, a traverse speed potentiometer that allows you to control your traverse speed. To review the touchscreen, we will look at the main screens that will be used for setup, and we'll explain the input screens when we load values for grinding. When first booting the grinder up, you must scroll through to the main screen, which shows you a choice of spin or relief modes. When pressing the spin mode, the spin manual screen appears and displays the functions that are needed for initial setup and operation prior to running a grind program. We will review the main features of the operational screen. There are 3 main switches: a switch to turn the vacuum on and off, a switch to turn the grinding wheel on and off, and a switch to turn the spin drive on and off. There is a spin drive directional toggle switch which automatically defaults to the correct spin direction when choosing the spin or relief modes. There are traverse to prox buttons, which traverses the grinding head to each prox without having to keep the button depressed. There are manual traverse jog buttons that require a constant depression of the button in order to move the grinding head. This machine uses a unique push-button in-feed system, which has a rabbit mode to allow for rapid movement, and a turtle mode that allows for slower infeeds when making the final adjustments prior to starting your program. These are the directional switches that are used to upfeed or downfeed, and when pressing either of these, the screen defaults to the larger touch areas to move up or down. Before getting into other parts of the screen, we will explain the relief process, and the relief process is exactly that, a process. The diameter of the reel and the number of reel blades will not matter, so changing from spin grind to relief grind is simply a matter of knowing the procedural steps. Let's take a look at the relief mechanism itself and explain how it works. There is a plunger pin on the left side of the head that allows the rotation of the relief finger assembly. Notice how this whole assembly swivels. And if you look at the casting of the assembly, the design is quite simple. The plunger pin fits into this solid hole for the spin grind, and fits into this slotted screw hole for the relief grind. So when you switch from spin to relief, pull the plunger and rotate the assembly up Quite simple. There is a reverse thread quick release knob that is used to take off the wider spin stone and to put on the more narrow relief stone. Before demonstrating the relief process, let's remove the relief stone and look at the components. This is a spring-loaded dowel which is released by a small roll pin on the right side of the head. Here is the guide finger. If you look at the area of the rear of the assembly, there is a locking knob and an adjusting T-knob for the dowel mechanism. This adjusting knob works on an eccentric, and there is an adjustment that will need to be made for the dowel in relation to the back of the reel blade. An explanation of its use will come later. First, let's start at the beginning. Change from the spin stone to the relief stone. Pull the plunger and rotate the assembly to the relief position. Jog the grinding head up to trap the reel blade between the stone and finger. Release the dowel with the roll pin. Next, adjust the dowel to 1/32 of an inch play behind the reel blade. This dowel and the clearance serve two purposes. One, as the stop when the blade index is down, and two, as a guide to make the blade travel between the stone and the guide finger. Next, relock the locking T-handle for the dowel. Now, travel left until the dowel pops off of the reel blade and the blade barely comes off of the stone. Always move this left-hand proc switch because you're going from a wide stone to a more narrow stone. After making the prox adjustment, travel back to the right-hand prox. At this point, rotate the torque knob to 0. Turn on the spin drive, then rotate the torque knob until the blade index is hard enough to push the dowel all the way back. This illustrates the automatic indexing system, where the head travels left, the dowel pops up, the head travels right, and when it reaches the right-hand prox, the continuous torque of the spin drive will index the blade. This has proven to be a very simple design and an easy switchover process. There are a couple more features on the relief assembly to look at. There is a T-handle that allows you to adjust the guide finger with the wear of the stone. You always want to maintain approximately 1/8 of an inch gap between the stone and the finger. On the front of the casting, there is a micro adjusting screw that enables you to change the relief angle. When the finger is brought up and over the stone, it will kick the blade out for less relief and also give more clearance to the blade above the one you're reliefing. Dropping the finger farther down behind the stone will provide more relief angle. Next, you'll learn how to position the reel into the machine. Place the setup flag on the edge of the table and simply position the reel shaft to the center of the setup flag. This will establish the initial position for where your roller goes in the horizontal bracket. Position the bottom of the reel blade at the level or approximate level of the tabletop. This will dictate the position of your vertical bracket. Before making a note of your bracket settings, check the clearances and relief angle. The clearance that you're looking for is relative to the grinding stone. Check the clearance with the front roller. Check the clearance with the blade above the one you're reliefing. You're also looking at the relief angle that will be there when you finish grinding. If you want more relief, position your reel towards yourself a tooth or two. If you want less relief, position the reel into the machine a tooth or two. Once you determine the correct position, you will be able to note the bracket positions for each reel in the settings on the control panel. Now you can clamp it in with 2 front clamps. One clamp is for the rear roller. Next, change the stones back to the spin stone and put the relief assembly in the spin position. Now you're ready to properly align the reel so that you remove any taper that has developed through use. Align from the front as well as the bottom of the reel. This is the front alignment bracket for the gauge, and it is positioned on the 2 studs that you see on the base of the carriage. Attach the gauge to the bracket. Always start alignment on the left side of the machine. push the digital gauge to the center shaft of the reel and set the gauge to 0. Bring the gauge to the right-hand side and take the gauge reading. For example, if the gauge reads 50 thousandths, you will adjust the hand wheel until you reach the negative of 50 plus half that amount, an additional 25 thousandths. There is no need to be exact, as you are simply overcompensating to speed up the process. Go back to the left side and reset to 0, and then come back to the right for a second reading. The gauge is at 9 thousandths. Simply make a horizontal adjustment until the gauge reads negative 9 thousandths. Whenever you get below 10 thousandths, go to the opposite of the number and pull the gauge off. There should be no reason for a third reading, as you should find that you are within 2 to 3 thousandths, well within manufacturer specs. Now, mount the gauge on the carriage and align from the bottom of the reel. Again, start from the left, setting the gauge to 0, and follow the same reading procedures as described for gauging the front of the reel. By overcompensating for larger numbers when the reel is out of alignment, the process will go much quicker. And once you know how to read the gauge, it will rarely take more than 2 passes on either plane for proper alignment. Next, lock the handles where you made your adjustments. Now you can connect the spin drive coupler. Note that the spin drive is on a scissor jack that is easily adjusted to line up with the reel shaft. Press the Traverse to Prox buttons and set your traverse proxes by rotating the traverse potentiometer to 0 when the stone barely comes off the reel. Slide the prox switch until it lights up. Do this for both sides. Before shutting the doors and turning everything on, infeed the grinding head up to touch the reel blade and jog back down to slightly come off the reel. Turn on the spin drive motor switch. Turn on the grinding wheel switch. Turn on your vacuum switch. With the infeed in the turtle position, upfeed with the switch until contact is made. Press Traverse to right prox and be prepared to jog the grinding head up or down if necessary in order to begin the grind program while making contact. All programs begin at the right-hand prox, which is the home position. Find a spin speed that is appropriate for the diameter of the reel and the blade count, as you will find an optimum speed to aggressively grind, yet get a smooth grind. You are now ready to load information for your spin grind program. Press Setup on your spin manual screen. There are 3 values that need to be entered. First, input the desired values for the infeed amount. 5 thousandths is common. Press 5, then press the arrow or enter button. Then enter your desired traverse cycles. 3 is common. And then the total number of infeeds. Press Next and choose the spark out values. Press Next and proceed to the spin program run screen. Press Accept Values and press Run Program. Infeed or downfeed if needed. After the reel has run through the program, the machine will shut down and the program will always end at the right-hand prox. Press the Cycle Complete icon and press Relief to change to the Relief manual screen. Downfeed the grinding head slightly and press Traverse to left prox. Use the traverse potentiometer to stop in the middle of the reel. First, remove the spin stone and install the relief stone. Then, pull the T-handle plunger pin on the left side of the grinding head and rotate the relief finger assembly into relief position. Jog the grinding head up to trap the blade between the stone and the guide finger. Pull and rotate the roll pin down to release the spring-loaded dowel. Unlock the adjusting handle at the right rear of the grinding head and adjust the spring-loaded dowel to 1/32 of an inch clearance behind the reel blade. Relock the adjuster. Jog the grinding head down slightly and rotate the traverse speed pot to travel left until the dowel pops forward from behind the reel blade and the stone barely comes off the reel. At this point, stop travel. Always move the left prox until it lights up. as you have made a transition from a wider stone to a more narrow stone. Travel back to the right-hand procs and stop. If you positioned the right procs properly for the spin grind, no adjustment should be necessary. However, make sure the stone clears the blade and the dowel pin will catch the blade on the index. Close the doors. Turn the relief torque pot to 0. Turn on the spin drive. Slowly rotate the relief torque pot until the blade indexes hard enough to push the dowel all the way back. Turn on the grinding wheel, traverse jog left a couple of inches, and infeed to make contact. Press traverse to right procs to load your values for the relief grind. Press setup, enter infeed amount, 10 thousandths is common. Enter the number of infeeds, 3 is common for thicker bladed reels. Enter the number of reel blades. Press Next and advance to the Relief Auto screen. Press Accept Values. Press Run, infeed or downfeed if needed. You should be grinding until approximately 85% of the back of the blade is removed and only 15% of land area exists. This concludes the training presentation on Foley United's Accu-Master 652 Spin Relief Grinder. We appreciate your purchase and feel free to visit our website at www.foleyunited.com for other products that can be used for maintenance on your golf course.